Hello everybody. So I'm going live today with my friend Kev Orkin, and the reason for this is because over the last year or so I've quit my full-time day job and I managed to network with some incredible people, and Kev is one of those people that I managed to connect with. So what I wanted to do is bring these people together who I have connected with and just ask them some information about their lives and maybe some of their challenges growing up through their younger years, mainly focused in their 20s specifically, and ask them sort of what they've done to overcome those challenges and what they had to do in order to get them to where they are today. So like I say, I've connected with some extremely wealthy people, some of the most happiest people that I've ever seen in my life, and some of the most successful people just in life in general. So I want to just bring up Kev today, and Kev is one of the funniest guys that I've ever met. So yeah, I'll let him tell his story. So Kev, here he comes, hopefully. In here as well, I see some familiar faces. So thank you everybody for being here. Kev.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm sitting in my office, getting ready for another fantastic day of making the world a better place to smile and to laugh and whatever. So I'm in a good place today.
Yes, Kev, thank you so much for coming on. So, Kev, as I was just explaining, like, I've got no real plan of this at all. I've been thinking about it for a few weeks, and I thought, because I've been thinking about it for so long, I need to take action. And a few people have said to me, just do it. So what I really want to mainly focus on these Instagram lives that I'm going to be doing is bringing, say, the older, no offense, the older generation, the people that I've connected with through, say, Clubhouse,
Yeah,
and get you to share some of your tips, tricks, and yeah, some of the things that you've been through in your life, mainly focused in your 20s, because I'm going through the last year of my 20s now. I'm 29 years old as of the other day. So yeah, I know for me, it's say growing up, especially when I went through that, say, depression period in 2018, 19, I was asking many, say, questions of just life in general, like looking for the answers of life. But I found over the years that there are no, say, specific set of rules or answers for anyone's individual life, because we've
right.
all got a different life. What
Correct.
could be right for me could be completely different for you, and vice
Correct.
versa. But I do know that there's almost like a generic blueprint that could be used, a set of skills that can be used to, say, get you from where you currently are to where you want to be in the future.
Sure.
So again, just from what I've learned from people like you, Kev, is it's mainly to do with, say, our daily habits and routines, etc. So you're, Kev, someone that just makes me smile and makes many other people smile. Like, just being surrounded by you, like in your presence, every time that I've met you face to face, Kev, I just automatically just smile. I'm just happy just being around you.
Because I've got a face like this.
Yeah.
You can't do anything but smile.
There we go. Like, quite often you don't even say anything, and like you're just smiling. So I want to know, Kev, just but briefly, just tell us a brief overview of, say, your life journey. I don't
Sure.
want to know, say, every single bit, but like the main things that happen in your life, but mainly focus on how, say, you felt in your 20s, maybe some of the challenges that you had in your 20s, and what you've done to, say, overcome them and get to where you currently are today.
Sure. It's a great question, and one that I think I started to really understand in my 30s, believe it or not, because what I did in my 20s, I did naturally, and I wasn't intelligent enough to have sat back and gone, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't have that that capability or that mindset particularly. It was only in my 30s that I really started to change my mindset, change my attitude. So in my 20s, for me, it was pretty much no fear. So that was one of the biggest things that I had without thinking about it. I didn't have a fear. I had no fear. And where other people would really worry about an audition, worry about what they were going to do at an audition, in the entertainment industry, of course, or whether it was a musical or whatever, or a drama or a play or a TV, I didn't have those fears. I just thought, I'll go there, I'll get the gig. And that's the attitude I had. And I will say, I literally went through my entire musical career, which was the 20s to my 30s, with an attitude of, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. Doesn't matter. I'll move on to the next one. That's the attitude I had, Ryan. And I remember going to an audition. No word of a lie. These were back to back, by the way. And I went and I auditioned for Me and My Girl in the West End. And I walked in, and the director said, "Hi, what are you going to do for us?" I said, "Well, I'll sing a song." So I sang a song, and he said, "Fantastic." He said, "Can you do this joke and this acting piece?" So I did that. Absolutely fantastic. And then the choreographer got up and said, "Do you tap dance?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah." I don't. But I said, "Yeah, I do. Yeah." She went, "Oh, brilliant." She said, "Put the tap shoes on." I thought, "Oh God." So I put the tap shoes on, and she tried to do it, and I tried to copy her, and I couldn't do it. She turned around, she looked at me, and she said, "Please take the shoes off." She said, "You can't tap dance, can you?" I said, "Well, no, but I'm a quick learner." And again, no fear. So she turned around, she said, take the shoes off, and please don't, don't call us again. So I was like, all right, okay. So I just walked off. Anyway, that night I got a phone call from the director, and he said, "I'd like to give you the lead role." I said, "Because?" He said, "Because you're cocky." And he said, "That's what we need for the part." So I went back in, I learned how to tap dance. They sent me on a crash course. The rest of it's history. That kind of progression into my life happened every single time. It happened with Me and My Girl. It happened with Fame. I went for the audition. I just turned up. I pretended I had an agent, and they asked me to do the audition. I cocked up the audition, but because I was so cocky and so fearless, I got the part. I did a year in the West End with it. So what I'm trying to say is, in my 20s, I didn't think, Ryan, about being fearless. I just was. And I loved taking risks. I loved taking the attitude of, let's try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, put it to one side. Let's start again. And that attitude really developed with me over the first kind of, 20, 30, between my 20s and 30s. After that, though, Ryan, it was a different ballgame. When I got into my 30s, I'll tell you this story. I became very, 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 very entwined in, unfortunately, in in financial problems. I took a lot of loans, a lot of credit cards, and I can tell you, at the age of 27, I was in debt by 120 grand. I had a property, but I couldn't even pay the mortgage on it because I had 6 or 7 maxed out credit cards and a loan for 45 grand. And it was just ridiculous. And it was just, the interest I was paying on a monthly basis was ridiculous. And I got into my 30s, and that's when my life changed. And it changed because I wanted it to change. And I turned around and said, right, enough's enough. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going, how it's going to work, what I'm going to do to change my life. And I went and read, and I think you know this, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I did the course for 3 days. And during that course, I managed to learn some incredible lessons in life. And I even bought my first rental property within 3 days of doing that course. But I still had 120 grand debt. And what I did was I used the techniques they taught me there. And in 17 months, I got rid of 120 grand loan debts. I brought my life back up to scratch, and I became financially free. So by the time I was 31, I was predominantly financially free. And those lessons I had no idea about in my 20s. All I knew in my 20s, like, and I think this is a massive education that we talk about actually on the Winners Club, is we are not educated enough about money. We don't know what the good money is, what the bad money is, and everything. We just don't know. And that's the problem with what we are as human beings. They don't want to teach us. They want us to keep borrowing. And so that's what I did. And it was only when I started to understand my life, and the fact that I didn't want to be in this whirlwind of debts. I wasn't happy. And that's the trigger, by the way. I wanted to be happy. And that's when it all changed.
Kev, thank you so much for sharing that, mate, with us. So I just want to go back then to say, in your 20s, you were saying about how you would say just fearless. Like, you would just go for it. And I remember you saying before, actually, about you turned up to speak to, I think it was someone high up. You just went into, whether it's a hotel or a business,
Yeah.
and you went there, and they said, "Are you here to see whoever it was?" And you just went, "Yeah." And you wasn't. And I remember you saying that you pretended that I think you had a manager, and
Correct.
you really did it. You just made
No,
up a name, and you just sort of almost blagged your way through it, but
I did
it
blag my
worked
way through
out.
it. I did blag my way through it. It was my agent at the time, which wasn't an agent. It was a fake person called George Gabriel. And do you remember? And I literally just walked in. And, they said, "Who sent you here today?" I said, "George Gabriel, my agent." "Oh, where is he based?" I said, "Hertfordshire." "Oh, really?" I said, "What's the agency called?" I said, "George Gabriel Associates." I said, "And here's the number." And I gave them my home number.
So
You've got to do it.
that's, I mean, in my eyes, that's say having confidence. Like that takes confidence to do that, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's cocky at all. I'd say that's just having confidence and trust and belief in your own abilities to just figure shit out, basically.
Yeah.
So for anybody then say that's lacking any confidence at all, maybe in their 20s or even in their later life, like what would you say is the first step to sort of gain that confidence in their life?
I think you've got to take one step at a time. A lot of people overwhelm themselves with trying to gain confidence quickly and suddenly. And confidence is a stepping stone to your overall being. And what I mean by that is some people think, and some people unfortunately do not interpret confidence in a positive way. And confidence can sometimes be arrogance, and then anger kicks in, and then you can't control what you're saying, what you're doing. And that confidence that you want to come out doesn't. So what you have to do is you have to take every day and take one step at a time. It's like thinking positive, which we talk about regularly on Winners Club. Thinking positive doesn't happen with you being positive all day, because it's impossible. It is truly impossible. Okay. And something might happen and that will spoil your positive thinking. I.e., you might be thinking, today's going to be a fantastic day. I'm going to have a great love. Oh my God, I've just spilled kettle water over my and then suddenly you're thinking negative again. Those things happen regularly. But what you have to do is accept that life has its ups and downs, has its negatives, has its positives. But ultimately, you've got to choose, and we have a choice, what we accept in our lives, what we want to accept, and how we accept what is coming to us. And if you can do all that, and you take one step at a time and think, today, I'm going to be confident, and I'm going to take a selfie of myself and put it on Instagram to say, hi, everyone, I hope you're having a great day. If you can take that confidence and do that, that's one step. If you can then make a video and say, hi, everyone, I'm Ryan, Ryan Nurse, and I absolutely adore talking about positivity and blah, 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 and do a 1-minute video, that's another step towards your confidence. And by building those little platforms of steps towards getting a more confident soul, it takes time. And you've got to speak to yourself as well, Ryan. You've got to speak to yourself, because the loud voice inside you will go, don't do it. Don't do it. You're not that confident, mate. And do you know what? They're going to judge you now. They're going to judge you because you're on Instagram. They're going to judge you. All those pictures, a couple of people are going to like it, but the rest of them are going to hate it. And they're not going to tell you really about it. And this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Oh, and they could take it and they could add it to this site and that site. And then you could end up being on a dating site you didn't even know you were going to do. And it's going to and all that rubbish, right? What I'm trying to say is negativity comes in waterfalls. Positivity comes in drops. And if you can take the positivity, take that little drop and just be blessed that positivity's come to you for that little moment, then allow the rest of the world to go by. But take that 1 minute, that one little positivity, and then you'll become another little positivity. And then every day, a little drop of positivity will ultimately become a full glass. And then you can take more and more time to learn about yourself, about your confidence, and actually ultimately grow. And it's not just being confident, it's about growing into the person that you ultimately are, which is a shining light that can do anything and everything.
Kev, mate, I couldn't have put it better myself. Like, that was beautiful what you just said, and how you explained it about, say, just a little drop each day, because it's the compound effect, right? It's not what we
Correct.
do, say, once in a while that sort of changes our lives, but it's what we do consistently. So what I want to talk about quickly then, Kev, is like, you've been on TV.
Yeah.
I've seen you play the piano. Like, you're absolutely incredible at playing the piano. So a couple of things there I wanted to ask is, let's say was there anyone, say, potentially trying to drag you back, almost like the crabs in the bucket scenario? Like, was there people trying to pull you back when you was to, say, audition on TV for your skills? Yeah, so let's start with that.
I think in general, one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life was to share everything that I was doing with everyone. And that is a very wrong move. And I learnt that a lot later in life, actually a lot later in life, in my 40s. I'm 47, I'm nearly 48, it's my birthday on Sunday, but in my 40s. And one of the things I learned about me was that you've got to be very careful who you share your ideas with. It's like, and now it's easier for me because I've actually related it to my ideas as my children. So what I do now is, would I give my sons, I have twin beautiful 8-year-olds, would I give my twin 8-year-olds to a stranger and say, please look after this, please look after my children, to a complete stranger? Because ultimately I don't know who that stranger is. I don't know what they're capable of. And I'm putting my children in harm's way. That's exactly the same with my ideas and my dreams. If you give it to the wrong people, they will become dream killers and they will kill what you want to achieve in your life. And this happened to me regularly throughout my life. When I was on TV, many a time, before I got my television spots and things, a lot of the friends that I had never ever spoke to me. The moment they saw me on television, they were like, "Oh, Kev, how you doing, mate? It's been a long time since I last saw you there." And suddenly they're your friend. When you disappear from television for a while, they disappear as well. And it tells you that everyone loves this whole fame aspect of entertainment. But the reality is you work years for a moment, but your reputation stays with you forever. So for me, I think it's very, very important that you're careful with who you share your stories with. You're careful who you share your dreams with. That includes, by the way, and I hate to say it, I truly do, that includes your partner, your husbands, your wives, and your family. And ultimately, family can be a real killer. So what I try and do is share my stories with people like yourself. I know Haig Armaganian's watching us right now. I share my stories with Haig because certain people in my life encourage it. Even if they think it's a rubbish idea, they go, good luck, try it. You know what I mean? And I think if you don't take risks in life and try, and you share your stories with people and they go, don't do it, because you're going to fail. That's not good. Ultimately, they're giving you their dreams, not yours. So the less you speak to others and the more you believe in yourself, and let the experience, let the creativity grow in abundance. And when they see what you're doing, you don't even need to tell them anymore. And that's the secret, I think, to disallowing negative people into your life. That's what I would say.
Again, Kev, brilliant, mate. So what I wanted to talk about now, actually, quickly, because I just remembered it. So this now is your, let's say, new Instagram profile.
It is, yeah.
So sadly, quite recently, you had your Instagram hijacked or hacked or whatever you want to call it. So for me, let's say if this was me a few years back when I was, say, going through that depression, or when my mindset wasn't what it is today,
right,
I would have instantly got, say, angry, pissed off, upset with that situation, and I would have probably let it affect my day, week, probably month, even year. But for you, Kev, like, I know how much of a happy person you are, just how you can flip, say, a negative into a positive too, because that's a big thing about life, is the way we perceive things and how we respond to things rather than react. So what was it for you that just, like, you just kept your cool? You were just like, it is what it is. I think you had maybe 7,000 followers. You built up your Instagram profile over years, and you had, say, customers, clients and friends that had all of your stuff on there. But what was it that just kept your mindset, say, straight in that situation rather than going off on one?
At the time, for me, when I lost my account, and you're right, I had about 7,500 people on there. I have a lot of mental health people on there, a lot of vulnerable human beings, special needs. who, and young people who follow me, and they're all vulnerable people. And when I lost the account, which I did simply by replying back to a friend who needed a link sent to them, I lost the account. And the moment I lost it, I went through a fear factor of, what am I going to do now that I've lost my account? And that didn't last long. The next thing I went through was anger, but that didn't last long. Then I went through frustration. That didn't last long. And what I did was, and I'm trying to teach the people listening as well, is you don't allow the negativity too much time. You give it space, but you don't allow it too much time. So anger, I gave it an hour. Frustration, I gave it 30 minutes. Shock, panic, I gave it a couple of hours. But once that was out of the way, I just went, it's done. It's done. And through a few friends, I managed to get the information out there that I've been hacked. What really upset me was the fact that Instagram was now, my account was now being used to target other people. And that to me was the biggest frustration that I overcome, because I didn't want anyone that knew me to be hurt. And that was more important than me losing an account. So I immediately changed my mentality to positive thinking. Right, I've had my little thing. I've had 3 or 4 hours where I've been upset. I'm now going to go to bed. There's nothing I can do about it. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this. And I'm going to fight it with positivity. I recorded a video. I put it on Facebook, on Twitter. I came onto the Winners Club. I spoke about I'd been hacked. They gave me some time, Paul and Ashley. And I got it out there. The only other person that got attacked was Abigail Barnes through my account, and she lost her account. But fortunately, that was it. We were done and dusted. And I set up a new account within a couple of days called The Real Kev Orkin. And I was back out doing what I always do, inspiring people, getting people going. And that's what it's all about. So what the lesson I'm trying to teach everyone here, and the lesson I really enjoyed learning, was don't give negativity too much time. Give it enough time to settle you, but not your entire day, not your entire week or month or year, because it will destroy you.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant tips and advice there, Kev, again. And yeah, like you say, it's so easy to let, say, that negative one single experience ruin our year, sometimes our lives. Like, I've seen people that are still holding on to things that maybe hurt them 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But it's just about, say, forgiveness and focusing on what you can control rather than the things that you can't control.
Well, you've just said it. You've just said it. So a quick example of this is the fact that my mum hasn't spoken to me in 6 years. 7, coming up to 7 now. And she hasn't spoken to me in 7 years. She's seen her grandchildren. They're 8 now. She's seen them 4 times since they were 2. And I was angry. I was angry at my mum. I was angry at her principles. I was angry at why she wasn't speaking to me, why she wasn't speaking to my wife, why she didn't give them shit apologies about my children. And it took 4 years before I realized the answer. And the answer is forgive yourself. And once you forgive yourself, you forgive everything else. And I forgave myself. And it was an epiphany. I was, my shoulders were softer. My head was clearer. My eyes could see better. And it was an epiphany. And I realized that I had to forgive myself for the fact that my mum wasn't talking to me. And by forgiving me, I forgave her. And now I have nothing but love for my mum. She still doesn't talk to me, but I have nothing but love for my mum. And hopefully one day she'll speak to me again. So forgiveness is ultimately, forgiving yourself, is the ultimate achievement in humanity. And I think being kind to yourself means you can be kind to others. Loving yourself means you can be loving to others. And I think by using that initiative in everything that you do, to you first, then you'll be great for others. And it's the same, isn't it? If you earn money, how can you give money to someone else if you're not earning it yourself? You have to earn it to be able to give it. And when you give it away, it comes back to you in abundance. And I truly, truly, truly believe that. Oh, and Aaron Phillips but how did you start forgiving yourself? But if you don't mind me answering that, would that be all right, Ryan?
Yeah, go ahead, mate. Please do.
The way I forgave myself was to wake up one morning and say, it's okay. It's okay your mum doesn't speak to you anymore, because you can't control what other people think and do. It's okay that your mum doesn't want to talk to you and doesn't want to be in your life. It's okay. And I always wondered if my mum stopped loving me, because when I was 43 is when I became an orphan. I became an orphan. That's how I looked at it. And I just thought, what do I need to do? And the journey to my happiness was by forgiving myself and going, it's okay. It's okay for your mum to not want to be with you in your life, because that's her journey. And ultimately, she gave birth to me. I don't know how anyone can not love you who's given birth to someone. My children, I didn't even give birth to my children, of course, but unconditional love, I don't know how I would be without them in my life. I can see that now, being a father. And I think my mum is going through a very tough time. And I have nothing but love for her. And I think she's going through mental breakdown. I think she's going through mental health. So what I would do is just send her positive love, positive vibes, and just forgive myself for being angry at her, because she's going through her own journey. And I think that's the secret.
Yeah, Kev, mate, I love that answer. And yeah, like you said about anger there, and just forgiveness. Like, forgiveness, I believe, is freedom.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is the ultimate freedom, because if we're holding on to, say, anger for a past situation, or what someone's maybe said to us or done to us in the past, the only person that we're hurting is ourselves, because that individual has probably forgotten about the whole situation. So they say anger is the wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. So
brilliant saying.
Yeah, like we need to forgive ourselves and forgive that person, because they were only doing what they knew best at the time in that moment. And they were maybe unaware of what they've done or said to someone or to you. But yeah, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Forgiveness is the antidote. So forgive others, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace.
Correct.
So Kev, I want to speak about now then.
Go on.
I want to ask a few questions now. I've got 5 questions that are pre-written. And like for me personally, again, going back to say when I was in this depression and I was confused in my life.
You went through a lot.
Yeah. So when I was really confused, I was going here, there and everywhere, asking anyone and everyone for advice. I was asking all of the wrong people for any old advice.
There you go.
The
I was
worst,
speaking about that earlier.
Yeah, the worst advice you can get is the wrong advice.
Yeah,
so that's why I want to bring people like yourself, Kev, people that I really respect and that have actually got proven results in what they've done. Like for you, for instance, how you went from being snowed under in debt to then changing your mindset to then getting out of that debt and becoming happy as well. So the first question that I want to ask you, Kev, what has been, say, the best piece of advice that you've ever received and why?
The best piece of advice I received is probably from my mum. And it was many, many years ago. And it has served me to this day. And it's grown on me. I've got to explain this before I tell you the actual saying. It's grown on me because I see more purpose behind this saying than just what it was in the first place. And the saying is, silence is the best answer to your enemy. I kind of translated that in Armenian. Silence is the best answer to your enemy. It's an Armenian phrase. And over the years, whether it's been work colleagues, relationships, whether it's been family, when someone upsets you and triggers you with a negative comment, with whatever it is, and you feel hurt, you feel offended, you tend to retaliate. No, I'm not going to do that. No. And you kind of retaliate. This happens with relationships. This happens with work colleagues and family. And I, over the years, have put this saying into practice more and more and more. Silence is the best answer to your enemy. And the enemy doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a situation. It can be the inner voice in your head. And by silencing yourself, you are evaporating the negativity. I think that's the best analogy I can come up with for that. Because the more you hit back and talk, the more fuel you're adding to the fire. The more you keep silent and walk away, the more your ego, which we all have, is at peace and learns to calm a lot better in the future.
Wow, Kev, that's amazing, mate. And it's so true. Like, the minute we react to a situation rather than absorb it and then respond when the time is right, if we're just reacting to things, that's when we make the wrong choices.
Correct.
In life. They say, I think it's Tony Robbins said it, when emotion is high, logic is low.
Correct.
And when we're all up here in our head, we do the wrong things. That I've done it many a times. So silence is so important, especially, say, if you're being confronted by somebody else. If you're just silent and you just listen to what they're really saying, they burn out. Like, they burn themselves out because they've got no more to give. And then you can just take on board what they've said and then just remain calm at all times and then just respond to what that person said. But also as well, I like what you said about it doesn't even have to be a person too. No,
it doesn't have to be. It can be a situation. It can be an inner voice. And sometimes our inner voice is the loud one. It can be very negative and it can really affect you. And I know, young guys, like young 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds who turn to drugs because they want to numb that situation in their head. They turn to alcohol. They turn to cigarette smoking. They turn to other stuff, and that can be sexual emotions as well, and they turn to, I don't want to say it, but they turn to a lot of negative sexual connotations as well. And all of it comes down to the fact that actually, if you just be good to yourself and you forgive yourself and you sit back and think, you know what, this doesn't have to affect my life. And actually, I have a choice. And ultimately, this is something that people always forget, that we have a choice. And we can either take the blue pill or the red pill, like the Matrix. But ultimately, you have a choice. And the quicker you learn that the choices you make in your life today are what ultimately is what you see around you. And this is why, Ryan, by the way, I just want to show this. Obviously, I get very proud of my certificates that I've achieved over the years, and all the recognition, including the Hollywood Walk of Fame and all that. Wow. But for me, one of the things that I look at all the time is, by looking at my achievements, I realize that I've taken a path of success and positivity, because as you can see, my office, all the posters of all the shows that I've produced, all the ones that I've starred in and whatnot, they're all there. And I look at them every day. And the reason I look at them is because I look at them and think, wow, I'm 47 and I've done all that in that amount of time, which is not 47 years. It's only 27 years. And if I've done that, or 28 years, sorry, if I've done this in 28 years, imagine what else I can achieve in the next 28. And I want to change the world. I want to change entertainment. I want people to enjoy their lives. I want them to really understand that one little smile a day, one smile a day can change the world. But people don't get it. And as long as we start understanding it, and the young people in this world start to adopt the lessons that we're now learning ourselves, Ryan, you, me, other people that are learning, and we can instigate this to 15-year-olds, to 14-year-olds, to 10-year-olds, and say, just smile, because you don't know how amazing that smile is going to change the world. Then I think people will get a better understanding. But I think we've still got many generations to go before we really ultimately find peace.
Love that, Kev. And what I took from that there is, like, the only time we should ever look back in life, I think, is to see how far we've come. And you've got it around you there. So the next question I wanted to ask you, Kev, is about advice. What's the
Right.
worst piece of advice that you've ever received and acted on, and what was the result?
I've received many, many terrible, terrible advice, over the years. Terrible things like, you know, I wouldn't do it, but you go ahead and do it, mate. You know, that kind of advice. Or, you know, some of them was, oh, I wouldn't do that. And I love that saying, by the way. I wouldn't do that. Well, it's not you that's doing it, love. It's me. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Well, don't do it then, love. You're obviously still sitting in a one-bedroom flat after 60 years, rather than the fact that you've been an incredible human being. You've actually gone and you could have gone and studied as a lawyer. You could have done all your dreams, and you could have ended up getting a better house, or you maybe a holiday home somewhere and whatever. Because people living in flats is not a bad thing at all. So I don't want people to understand that in the wrong way. But I know one woman. The reason I'm telling you this is because I know one woman particularly who complains about her life every single day. She lives in a one-bedroom flat in North London. And she complains that her flat's rubbish and she's got a dark and dingy flat and this. No, she complains every day of her life, this woman, right? And one day I topped. And I said to her, you're living in a one-bedroom flat in North London. You haven't stopped complaining about this flat. But the fact remains, you bought it. You made the choice to buy a flat. So what part of this are you not getting? If you're complaining, you're not complaining to anyone but yourself. And you have a choice. Sell the flat, buy yourself another flat, somewhere that you prefer to live in. This is the problem with people. They like to complain. They don't like to change.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are afraid of change, then, and you know, and I know this because we're both advocates of Les Brown, but if you always do what you've always done, you'll always be where you've always been. And that saying has stayed with me for years, as I know you have quoted that as well. That mentality is insane. If you hate your one-bedroom flat, this is the woman I'm talking about, one-bedroom flat, and you hate where you are and it's a dark and dingy place, move. It is possible. And the word impossible, I've never, ever looked at it as impossible. I've looked at it as I'm possible. We know that as well. And you've got to keep doing that. I have been self-employed from the moment I started working, from the age of 15, 16. I've never relied on anyone for income. And I've pushed myself forward every time. And I have failed every single day. I have failed and I have grown. And I have failed and I have grown. And I have become very comfortable in failing. And I enjoy failing. Because by failing, I create incredible, incredible things. And for me, nothing is impossible. Nothing. And I've proved it. Over the years, I've proven it with my shows. I've proven it with my documentary on Amazon right now, Armenia Uncovered, which received many accolades. And I'm proving it every day of my life to me. I'm proving it to me. Because this is my journey, Ryan. Like you said at the start, this is my fingerprint. That's your fingerprint. And we're two different people. And we could go and have the same passions in life, but we will never get to the same place with the same identical journey. And what I mean by the journey, your thoughts are what you become. So when I look here and I see what I see, it's because I have thought about this and I've magnetically attracted it. Now look at what you've got around you. Look at everything that you can see, and all the listeners that are listening now. Look around you. Look what you can see. Look at your sofas, your chairs, your windows. Look at your TV. Everything you have in your life right now, from your career through to materialistic, through to your family, you have imagined. And if you can believe that, then imagine what you can do.
Mate, that's brilliant there. And it's so true. Like every single thing that's ever been created has been created twice. Once in the mind and once in reality.
Correct.
And everything we have around us is, say, a direct result of the things that we've done or not done. Like going back to that lady just quickly about the one-bed flat. Like, if she doesn't want to be there, it's her choice to be there. It may not be possible to say, get up and just leave tomorrow.
No.
But you got to start somewhere. Like, you got to
take that first and it starts step. Here.
Yeah,
it starts
exactly.
Here. I want to move from here. Start picturing, and this is what I do, by the way. Start picturing where you want to be. Start picturing walking into another house or a flat or a condo or a townhouse or whatever, or even a tent or even a barge, a boat, wherever you want to be. Start seeing it. Then start believing it. And then once you start believing it, you start taking action. How am I going to get this? And once you take the action, then you will achieve it. And we know this because you and I have both spoken about Anthony Robbins and other people, you know, and everything they've achieved over the years. If you see it in your mind's eye, ultimately, it's already here for you. And you just have to look up. I'm not religious, by the way, but look up and just thank the infinite intelligence and say to it, I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to receive. That could be anything. Your career, your material, your messaging, your life, your family. I'm ready to receive. Because if you've thought about it, you will see it. Now, here's a proof to you. By the time I'm 50, so everyone knows now I'm nearly 48 on Sunday. By the time I'm 50, I will be driving around in a brand new Bentley Continental. I know this because it's the car that I love. I love the shape. I love the car. And I know that it's in the pipeline. It's coming to me. Now, I know it's coming to me because I've seen it. But the funny thing is, every single day, for the past year and a half that I've decided I want one, every single day, I see a Bentley going past every single day. I see things that I want to see in my life every single day. And now what I have to do is turn around and say, it's here and I'm ready to receive. Oh, Kath, I know Kath very well, actually. She's just, but not always so easy. Ill health and lack of money prevents it in reality. No, I'm sorry. In a way, I have to disagree with that, Kath. It's down to the mindset. Now, ill health, absolutely believe that. And you're right. Ill health stops many things being achieved. It slows you down. It does. We know this because Ryan, right in front of me, has been through this adversity himself. But if it does stop you and it prevents it in reality, then perhaps Ryan should tell you his story right now. Because if he had taken your mentality of it prevents you, money and ill health prevents you from actually having this in real life, then Ryan would still be in a hospital or would be dead right now. And I wouldn't be having this conversation with Ryan. But his mental attitude got him out of a coma into a career, into Winners Club, and then into this conversation that we're having right now. And if his mindset was to go that, oh no, this is not going to be easy, and my ill health, my coma is going to stop me from actually achieving my goals, I wouldn't be talking to Ryan today. So perhaps Ryan would be better equipped answering Kath's question or her statement rather than me.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kev. I know you need to be off for 10, and I had a few other questions to ask you as well. But briefly or quickly, yeah, for me, the whole coma and being in that, say, traumatic brain injury that I had,
yes, you did,
10 years ago, that really, to be fair, was nothing like to me. As much as it was really, really bad, and I would say on my deathbed, I never once thought like this is going to stop me from achieving what I want to achieve in life. And because I never had that thought go through my mind, I acted on improving and progressing my life rather than staying stuck where I was. Hence why I took that, say, massive uncomfortable action, which was I literally ditched my past life or that current life that I was living, and I just went after this completely new life. Yeah. But I mean, the main thing for me about the mindset and the ill health was when I had, say, ill mental health back in 2019, mainly when I was going through many months of mental misery. Because at one point in my life, I'll be lying if I'd say that death was not a desired destination. But for me, I managed to use my fear in my favour, because my biggest fear was death. And I used that fear as fuel to then say, help me get up and out of that ditch that I'd created myself in my own life, because I was stuck there with bad mental health, and every single thought that come through my mind was, I'm never going to be happy again. I will never be able to do this. And the language that I was telling myself prevented me from moving to that next level of life. And like you just said there about, you know the car that you want, you know when you want it, and you know what you need to do in order to attract that into your life, because you're on that frequency. And it's something called the reticular activating system that's in our brain, the RAS, which basically is the brain's filtering system. And like, I'm sure the easiest way to explain it is if you said you bought your ideal car. It was that car, I don't know, let's say
Sure.
a Ford Mustang with chrome rims. Like, that's your ideal car.
Oh,
You've gone
you dirty man, you.
let's just say that you've gone and bought that car, and then next thing you know, you've seen another 10 Mustangs with the same rims everywhere
Totally.
when you haven't seen one for ages, because you're
That's
now
right.
tuned into that
You're
frequency.
tuned in. You're tuned
Yeah.
in. And actually, it's the frequency is a very good thing to use as well, Ryan. Sorry to butt in there, but you wouldn't go to Kiss FM and listen to classical music because the frequency is wrong. Where you tune your frequency is what you get to. And the abundance comes to you when you attract what you want in your life. And I truly believe the more you give out, the more you get back. And that is categorical.
Yeah, like you need to be tuned into that right station. Like, you can't be, like you say, tuned into Kiss FM and expect to pick Capital up on your radio. It doesn't work. Just like you can't think positive and act, you can't think negative, sorry, and act negative positive all the time and expect to live a positive life. Like, it doesn't work. Like, you literally, you get what you are, and what you focus on most expands. Like, you get more of what you focus on. So if you focus on the positives moving forward, attracting these good things into your life, your actions will be sure to follow those thoughts. So, Kev, just as we sort of finish up now, because I know you need to be away by 10, I want to ask you a question about life in general, about learning things in life. So a big part of life is obviously learning and progressing and moving forward. But I feel like, from what I've learned over the last few years, an even bigger part of life is unlearning stuff that we say potentially been taught through childhood experience, or even teenage, growing up through early adulthood as well. Again, it could be other people's limiting beliefs pushed onto you, disguised as love, rather than your own. Because what we sort of think and feel throughout the majority of our life is, or does come from, say, childhood programming that we've been taught as, say, children. So what was, say, the one main thing that you had to unlearn that you was taught, say, growing up?
That's a difficult question, actually, Ryan, because my parents were very strict and very poor. So where my father used to go and work, my mother would try and control the finances so that we could expand and grow bigger. And many a times I watched my mother hide money from my father, ultimately, which then enabled us to get a big house. But I saw a lot of things that were secretive, that were, don't tell your father. If I caught my mum, hiding money or this or that or whatever, I just, don't tell your father. I'm doing this for our good. I'm doing this. And over the years, I became fearful of money. I became fearful that when I earned it, I had to protect it, and I had to hide it, and I had to hide it away. And I can tell you, the reason I'm telling you this is because, and I'm very proud to say, I'm going counselling right now for a number of things that have been inputted and into my brain from my childhood. And I've really struggled over the years with understanding certain aspects of my life. I was very much controlled, very controlled from a very young age. And I felt by moving that on to other people, I was being good to them. And I wasn't. Controlling people is ultimately the worst thing you can do. Letting people go and seeing them come back is the greatest. And it's like the saying from one of my favorite musicals, Fiddler on the Roof, when he said, a bird may love a fish, but where would they build a home together? And I think if you let your friends go and they come back to you, I think you create an abundance of friendships, which I know I can see a few people on here, including my wonderful friend, Mark. Mark Williams is on, he's a great magician, fantastic human being. But I think for me, I had to unlearn predominantly 90% of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. And I say that with all due respect to my mother and my father. I love them dearly, but control, hiding money, finances, being afraid of what we have, what we don't have, giving more, too much, rather than holding a little bit back and allowing other people to do the same for you. So what I mean by that is, don't worry, I'll take your kids to school today. I'll take them all year. Don't worry about it. No, try and give a little bit more back, and make it a bit more kinder, a bit more, So I think a lot of the things I had to unlearn were because of my mother. And today I still struggle, which is why I'm going counselling. And I'm really enjoying the counselling, actually, because I'm just talking, I'm getting it out. And I think that's really important when it comes to childhood issues and things like that. And actually, ultimately, one of the biggest things I had to learn immediately, was how to deal with my children, because I was beaten as a child severely. So I had sticks broken on my back. I had the slippers, everything. I was starved once in my bedroom because I didn't want to eat spinach. I was severely beaten. And then when I grew up and I had children of my own, I found myself on a number of occasions, I wouldn't say more than about 10, number of occasions, smacking my children on their ass and being angry. And I realized actually that it wasn't getting anywhere. And I realized that my mother doing what she did to me also didn't get her anywhere, because I ultimately ended up doing what I wanted to do. So why beat children when we can talk to them and understand them? So for me, learning to be a better parent was learning how to listen, how to control your emotions, and how to be a better father and a better example to your children, so that in the future, they become a better example to theirs. And I think that's what I learned from my time.
Yeah, Kev, I just want to say thank you for being so vulnerable there and just sharing that with us, because the majority of us have picked up stuff through our childhood.
Yeah.
And that we bring it into, say, our adult lives as well. But a huge or a big way of, say, dealing with those childhood experiences is to bring it up right in front of your face and get some professional help, which you've done. So I just want to say congratulations for that, Kev, as well. Like that's brilliant to hear that, and to hear that it's going well. So yeah, you mentioned there, like, you had to unlearn a lot of stuff maybe from that your mother's taught you. But I just want to go back a few steps. When I asked you what was, say, the best piece of advice that you've ever been given, and you said it was what your mum said to you as well. So that's also a positive from, say, what your mum too. So it's almost like polar opposites. Like, yeah, maybe you learned some stuff that you want to, say, unlearn now, but you also learned one of the greatest of life lessons from your mum too. So that's brilliant. So Kev, I want to ask you now then, quickly, if you have one, what was the greatest, say, lesson that you learned from the most painful experience in your life?
The greatest lesson I learned from a painful experience was trust. And I think trust for me is a very, very difficult thing, because I trust everyone, or I did. And I interpreted it as trust was a way of being respectful to others, when in actual fact, trust has to be earned. And by interpreting trust as a respectful thing, a lot of people used me. Even as recently as last year. And I still didn't see it. So for me, I don't want to change as a person, because I love being kind. I love being caring. I love sharing. I love giving opportunities to other people. But I feel that I have to choose wisely who I trust. So for me, I think that's the key. And that's what I think that's where I really got hurt, when people mistook my kindness for weakness, and the trust that I gave them, they used against me. And I think that's the biggest lesson I learned from being hurt. And I was hurt many times, many, many times. So trust, it's a great thing to have, but it's difficult because actually there's very few people in this world that will ultimately care about you and your journey. And no one will care as much as you care for yourself. And if you can believe that, and you can believe that even family can be jealous, can be disastrous, can be negative, then you'll realize that actually you don't need any more than your own trust and instincts to really get along in this world.
Yeah, mate, I love that. Absolutely.